confidential. And these are the screenshots. So I will get into why I shared the screenshots later, but the screenshots that I shared in my Twitter feed they said a few things. And so those screenshots that I've provided in my Twitter feed are the exact words that were said in my private session. So I shared.
I can a few of them on the screen here.
Okay, so I shared two types of information with the Royal Commission. I had the first one, which was in 2014, which is my private session. And then I shared, later on they asked me to give public evidence. So that was the second form of information. So let's get back to the private session, as I want to clear up a lot of issues that are going around in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community and a lot of the attacks that I've been receiving from ex-Jehovah's Witnesses as regards to the private sessions. So the first one said, what did it say again, Spencer? Can you put that back up?
Sorry, I'm trying to. Right. I felt like Willy Wonka back here, just pulling levers and stuff. Hang on one second. Here we go. Is it this one?
Yeah. So they say they're very important. They are very important, not only because we are interested in your particular story, your experiences, but also that we can gather an understanding of what happened in a number of institutions, including a number of religious organizations, and the Jehovah's Witnesses are a part of that. Okay. So do you have the next one?
They're not in a real order, so I'm gonna flash.
This one. Okay, so on the side of the actual screenshot, you can see 10, 11, 12. So this is the second one. And I've deleted it. Now, I want everybody to know that I absolutely, I love the Royal Commission, and I love the work that they've done. I love the commissioners themselves. I have great respect for the commissioners. And what I'm speaking about right now are the government processes about protecting victims' rights of consent. And I'm talking about those people behind the scenes and the government who have set up these processes to protect these stories. So before I go on anymore, the private sessions of the Royal Commission in Australia, they allowed a lot of people from various institutions, not just religious, Boy Scouts, all of these other institutions, to come and ask to have a private session with a commissioner. They recorded their stories by microphone, and they also then do a transcript. And this is the transcript of that story. So there were 8,000 victims like you, Chessa, that you've and like you, Spencer, that haven't spoken about this for like 20, 30 years. What did you say, Chessa? How many years does it take somebody to come forward?
Usually, statistically, it takes someone until about the age of 55, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So this information,
or today, because I'm 39 years old.
Yeah.
So it takes.
Spencer, I just want to say I applaud you for that. It must have taken all the guts and courage and all those motherfuckers who try to discredit any of you and any other one of you out there, using your mental health issues, using your past as an abuse survivor against you.
Yeah,
they can get
fucked. From Molly.
Thanks,
all
Molly.
Right, Shelly.
Thank you. So we're doing this private session. So that second one that you put up, that screenshot, and this is what. So basically, one of the biggest issues is this is a negative effect of the Royal Commission. So the Commissioner says, so we're interested in that the sessions are being recorded, hence this little microphone that is flashing on the table, flashing at you. The reason for that is we want to look at the particular institution or a particular set of circumstances. We can come back and have a look at that record, have a look for that record. But this is clear. The conversation is totally what? Confidential.
Confidential, that's what it says.
We would only use part of that in a way that could identify if we seek your explicit consent at the appropriate time. Okay, these are the clear words. Now, I don't have to, nobody else can share my private session. because a lot of people were attacking me in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community about the fact that I forgot whether or not I gave consent, or whether or not I lied and said that I gave consent, or didn't give consent, sorry. Because what has happened is the Royal Commission has published, so basically, private session, where am I? Private session here, public evidence here in 2015. 2014, 20th of February 2014, Royal Commission, what is it, July 27th, 2015. My private session has been published without my consent. This is the issue. I'm not talking about my public evidence. I'm talking about this document that has explicit details and more details in there that I did not want to share in the 2015 evidence. It should have been protected. It's actually protected by legislation. I have been fighting this since early 2019, and I will get to that, how I started to do that. But my story has been published. My private session has been published under the name Martyr. It's been relabeled and it has been put into a narrative called Martyr. I did not give consent for it to be published. So all those ex-Jehovah's Witness activists out there, I did not give consent. In this session, it said, we will seek your explicit consent at the appropriate time. That means not now in the private session. It means at a point in the future. Would you all agree? It means at the appropriate time. It's not right now. Unfortunately, what the Royal Commission has done is they have published in their publications that consent was obtained during the session, and it's not true. It's not true in my case. So I wonder, out of the 4,000 private sessions that have been converted into narratives, how many of those actually where the consent allegedly was obtained in exactly the same way? How many? To me, I mean, when I found out that it was actually the Royal Commission that published my private session in this Martyr document, my God, what an ultimate betrayal of trust for me. It is ultimate betrayal of trust. It's worse than my parents. It is worse than my mother. It's worse than my sisters. It's worse than the religion. It's worse than anything I have ever experienced in my entire life. Their trust betrayal is the worst. So keep going. We'll keep going about the transcript, and we'll talk about a little bit about what they said they would share and what they said they would not. So we're looking at the next one.
Can I just add in, Shelly? Can I just add in that you said that it's not the case 29 PDF that's published? Can I just say, like, it's not that. Just say that
very, very clear. And I think I confused a lot of people. That's why I wanted to come on and talk about it. So the private session is a document called Martyr, M-A-R-T-A. So if you see a story somewhere published as Martyr, I have not given consent for that to be published. And I will talk about more of it later on, but
and it's separate to what we've put on here today.
You've got case study 29, the live hearings, my statement under BCG. That is what I said I would share. I did say, yes, you can share that. I've agreed to share that. That's not what I'm talking about. The blue book in the findings and the reports, that is what I said I would share, because I actually fixed up the statement, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll tell you about that. But let's go back to the transcript and see what else they said they would and would not do. So compare this with what their publications, the Royal Commission publications, say. So does anyone want to read it? Chessa, do you want to read it?
Sure. Am I reading this one that's in front of me right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner blank. What we are doing, however, is we are turning some of the stories that we have heard into stories that we can tell to the public, but not in a way that identifies the individual or the actual institution that is the location or the perpetrators. We are asking people whether they have any problems with their story being converted into a totally non-identified story.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So there are 4 things in this. There are 4 different issues. Number 1, they're not going to identify the individual. They're not going to identify the actual institution. They're not going to identify the location or the perpetrator. Okay, so if anybody can find Marta's story anywhere online, have a look at it. If you have a look at the Marta story, it is substantially similar to my public session because it's been taken from my private session. If you have a look at it, you will see that the Jehovah's Witnesses institution has been identified. You will see that it was my father, a ministerial servant, that has been identified. You will see that it's been identified as being occurring in Queensland. And so your 4 things here that they said that they would not identify, they've identified.
That is so wrong.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. This is the cruncher.
You want me to read this one too?
Yeah. Go.
All right, Commissioner, but that will only happen with a few stories. You can say no to that.
Okay. So, do you know how many stories were private sessions were conducted by the Royal Commission? 8,000 in Australia. 8,000. Do you know how many they converted into narratives? It says a few.
How many?
Nearly 4,000. Half of that. So this is part of the issue, why I've come on today, because I'm pretty sure that's the last one. So at the end of the Royal, that private session, the Commissioner asked me, this is when the recording was turned off, and he said to me, Shelly, would you